Welcome to the Profit Lab show and podcast. I'm your host, Marie Torossian, CPA and 10X certified business coach. And I'm so glad you are here. If you're new to the show, go ahead and subscribe, like my channel or the pages that you are listening us on so you can get alerts when we drop new episodes, which is going to be every Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern time. And that's on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Podbean, and more. Today, we are covering pillar number 9 of the valuation MT methodology, and we're talking about optimization and scale. You've built the foundation of your business. Now it's time to fine-tune, eliminate the waste, and scale exponentially. So let's talk about how you do that. What does optimization really mean? Optimization isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter, doing more with less. So I want you to ask yourself, where are you wasting time? Where are you wasting money? And where are we creating friction for clients or team members? The profit optimization formula focuses on 4 things: increasing prices, which means you charge more for the same service. Number 2, increase volume of sale, which means serving more clients. Number 3 is increasing frequency, which means getting clients to buy more often. And then number 4 is decreasing costs, which means you reduce expenses, hopefully without sacrificing quality, right? So the thing is, what most businesses focus on is number 2, which is increasing volume, or number 4, which is decreasing costs. However, this may not actually, really increase profits. And here's why. Hear me out. If you increase the volume of sales, you may increase revenues, but is it actually cost effective? Is it actually costing you less money? So is it really creating a higher net profit, even if your gross sales are increasing? So you want to consider different pieces of that. Now, on the flip side, if you reduce costs, which helps you increase your profits, but what if you're cutting so much that you can't actually deliver services well? So that's a big thing that I've seen in my experiences, where business owners, the first thing they do as a strategy to increase profit is to cut costs and fire people, and it doesn't really actually provide quality of service when you get rid of people. The people in your business are the ones that actually providing services or goods, whatever it is that you do. So you don't want to be cutting off people, right? In a mass, cutoff, which we see this happen all the time. That's only a short-term strategy. It's really not going to help profits in the long run. So what you want to do is really create efficiency through the people that are there. If you have the right people in the correct seat, they wouldn't be costing you money. They should be actually generating more profits and revenue. So the real leverage is to really combine all the 3. So increase prices. So take a look at all the different services that you provide and, make a decision on which ones you're able to increase prices on. Increase volume, right? Serve more clients, use all the different combinations. Again, if you look at your return on each and every service line, right? Which ones are profitable? Which ones are you able to increase sales on and increase prices at the same time, not one or the other. And increasing frequency. How often do your clients actually buy from you? What is that continuous frequency? It's a quarterly thing? Is it a monthly thing? What is it? And then decrease costs at the same time in a way where it doesn't actually, sacrifice the quality of the services that your team provides. Okay, so now let's talk about scaling without breaking, right? Scaling isn't just about growing the business. It's about sustainable, profitable growth. So it's a consistency built in. So what happens a lot of times I see is that, businesses that are growing super fast without any specific structure in place, they break. And some of those breaking points start with the first is being 1 million, then 3 million, then 5 to 8 million, somewhere there. So what you want to do is really make sure you're looking at your situation in an objective way and finding out the places where a breakage could happen and then fix it before it breaks. So it's not about just increasing revenue, increasing profits, but we want to do it in a way that is scalable, right? And so here's what I want you to think about. You want to make sure that your systems are fully documented. We've talked about processes before, so I want you to go back and look at those documentations. Can your business run without you for 2 weeks, maybe a month? So what is that longevity of you if you step away? God forbid you get sick or something else that takes your attention, or a family you need to take care of. What happens to your business? Is there proper documentation of who steps in and helps out while you have to take off for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever that is? The other thing I want you to look at is your team trained properly? Can they handle twice or 3 times the current workload? So let's assume you just increase the volume of sales for the clients, right? You got more clients. Can your team actually function and still provide the service if that load doubled or tripled or quadrupled, right? So you want to make sure your team is well trained to handle any expansion like that. Number 3, cash flow. I want you to make sure your cash flow is healthy. Do you have 6 to 12 months of runway? I mention this all the time. During 2020 COVID shutdown, many businesses had to close their doors for once and for all because they didn't have enough cash runway to depend on. And if they didn't get a PPP loan, they had to close their doors. So do you have enough cash flow in case something happens that you have 6 to 12 months or even more, right? So that's something to look at. And another item I want to bring up is your client experience consistent? Will the quality hold as you grow your business? So again, if you're growing super fast, your sales are off the roof. They're just growing up fast, but can your team handle it? And will the client experience, the other side, the receiver, client is the receiver, will they get the quality service that you've promised? If any of these 4 items that I mentioned is a no for you, I would say go back, look at it, and fix it before you scale to the next phase. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, again, bringing up, and we've talked about this before, is the bottleneck. So I want you to audit this. Every business has a bottleneck somewhere. So most places where they get stuck. I want to mention the ones that the first one, and it's the most important one, and that's you. Okay, if you're still in the day-to-day and every decision relies on you are a bottleneck, and it will not. And you creating that bottleneck is not going to help your business grow. Okay, so I want you to go back again, look at some of these processes, look at where you are the bottleneck. Look at your calendar. We've talked about this before. Look at your calendar. Where is something stuck? Where is it that you're doing things that you should not be doing because you are creating the bottleneck? I've seen also in situations where team members are unable to make decisions that benefit the business because the business owner is holding control, right? Instead of empowering the team to make decisions and solve problems, the business owner is trying to control every situation. So that's actually you creating a bottleneck. You're not really controlling anything. You're actually squeezing your business. Okay. The next thing I want you to look at is a bottleneck is your sales process. If leads aren't converting fast enough, or if your conversion rate is very low, I want you to look at what's breaking in that sales process. Is it the quality of the lead? Because most people, most salespeople will be like, oh, the leads are not good. But is it really the quality of the leads, or is it something else? Is it somewhere in the process that once they start talking, something breaks? Have you actually looked at that? The other day I was talking with a coaching client, and we noticed that, he's getting so many leads, and it's only at 3% conversion. And I was like, why? So we looked at what are the things that are happening once the lead comes in. So what's the process? It's like the lead comes in, They sign up, they put in their information, they usually get a free session at the, this is a gym, a free session. However, it seems like they always have a hard time booking that first session themselves, and then they just disappear. And when we try to call them, nothing happens. They ghost us. We can't convert them. However, he said, if someone actually comes to the gym and does that session, we have a 10% conversion rate. So the breakage is somewhere in the process that when they can't book. So what can you do to make sure, let's say that's this specific client can actually book the call? Can you actually call them and make sure they're on the phone when they're booking, right? So what are the things that you could do differently to make sure that breakage doesn't happen? You fix it, okay? Okay, the next one is delivery capacity. If you can't serve more clients without hiring more people, that's a bottleneck, right? So you want to look at and do let's say the numbers, the forecast in the back of, if I were to, double up my sales, if I bring in 2 or 3 times, 4 times the clients, who do I need to hire? How many people do I need to hire without having a bottleneck, right? So again, everything comes back to the numbers. So you want to make sure you're forecasting all of these decisions as you look at the process. And cash flow, we brought it up again before. You may be profitable on paper, you're making money, but if you're cash poor and you can't really, pay payroll, or you have too many loans out there that's eating away your cash, you want to start looking at that and see how you can fix that. So identify your bottlenecks and fix it first before you try to scale and grow further. All right. Sometimes it's better to just fix those pieces before that next big push for the sales. Okay. So as we wrap up this podcast, every time I leave you with the profit question of the week. So here's the question. If your revenue doubled tomorrow, what would break in your business? Okay. I'm going to repeat that again. Your profit question for this week. If your revenue doubled tomorrow, think about it. If it's $100,000 a month, it becomes $200,000 a month. Okay. If it's $1 million a month, it becomes $2 million a month. What would break in your business? All right. And here's the 3 action items for you. Run your bottleneck audit. Where is growth getting stuck? Number 2, use the profit optimization formula. Model what happens if you increase prices by 10%, add, let's say, 10 more clients, reduce costs by 5%. So try those different scenarios. What happens? And then number 3, stress test your systems. Can they handle 2 to 3 times the volume? And if so, what would happen? All right. So you got your profit question of the week. You got your action items, the 3 action items I want you to work on. Make sure to put some comments and let me know how it worked. What are things that you're stuck with? And feel free to ask more questions. I'm happy to read all of the comments and respond back with some guidance. So with that, next week, we're talking about next level growth. We're going to talk about expanding your impact, building your legacy, and taking your business to the next level. Until then, be good, have a successful rest of your week, and see you next Wednesday.